I saw this post on Instagram and I thought it was a really interesting idea. So today I want to pitch to you a first season of a Succession style show about the quest for the next executive producer of Saturday Night Live. Before we get into the pitch, I just want to talk about what this is and isn't. This is not going to be some meta show about creating a show. Instead of taking the approach from Succession where it's about money and power, this is a show about creative control and messaging, about what people want to say versus what actually gets on air and gets you awards. So with that addressed, let's meet the primary characters of this show. This is Liam McFadden. He is our stand-in for Lorne Michaels. Liam is the creator and executive producer of SNL. He's been doing it for the 49 years the show has been running. He has become a media mogul from all the various projects that he's worked on, but his true baby is SNL. Liam is going to be jovial, over-friendly on the front, cracking jokes, but at the flip of a switch have this killer instinct where he really goes after people. He's kind of a bully. He will do anything for a quick laugh because he knows that conflict drives views, drives entertainment. Lastly, he is very protective about his image and the image of the things that he's created. Our next character is Amy Anderson. She's going to be our Tina Fey analog. She currently is a scriptwriter and an actress, that kind of person that you see as secondary characters in all your favorite comedies. She was a former SNL head writer, but has now left. She is incredibly aspirational. She wants to have an EGOT. But to be successful, she's sometimes crude and aggressive because of how driven she is. Amy's exit from SNL was messy as a result of some conflict with Liam. Amy was replaced as head writer by our next character, Caleb Davis. Caleb is going to be our Seth Meyers analog. Caleb is now a late night talk show host, but he was an SNL head writer. He is a little more emotionally driven than some of these people, which doesn't lead to good decisions. He's kind of lazy. He rests on his laurels because he's inherited a lot of success and doesn't totally see that that success isn't from his own creation. He's going to have this very kind of faux innovator mentality where he thinks he's this great visionary, but he's just chasing after the trends of today. Caleb is kind of mixed with his relationship with Liam. There's some good, there's some bad. Caleb left SNL to pursue the late night show, and he was succeeded by our next character, Aidan Connolly. Aidan's gonna be our John Mulaney stand-in. He is now a touring stand-up comedian. He's aloof, a bit of a jackass. He is plagued by addiction. His marriage is struggling as a result of this traveling career he has, but he's still incredibly popular, although sometimes says things that are a bit divisive. Aidan really likes Liam as a result of Liam helping cover up an incident that forced him to leave SNL. Aidan was succeeded by our next character, Todd Washington. Todd Washington is gonna be our Colin Jost analog. He's the current head writer for SNL. Todd is a bit of a pushover, kind of brainwashed by all of what Liam wants. Todd's creativity is often stifled by Liam. Todd still maintains high aspirations, but believes that if he rides the wave, it will eventually crest up for him. And now for our last character, Catherine Smith. Catherine doesn't really have an analog for anyone in the real world, but she's gonna have an important part of this show. Catherine is a young working comic in New York City. Catherine is young, she's hardworking, and she's desperate for her breakthrough moment. She is doing anything and everything to climb the ladder, although sometimes naive to the dirty work behind the scenes. Those are our characters. So now let's get into what a pilot episode would be. Let's start with the cold open. Liam sits in his New York residency. It's night. He's watching the Emmys. There's a nurse, she's checking on his vitals, she gives him some pills. He's recovering from surgery. As Liam's watching the TV, we see Amy presenting an award, and she announces, and the winner for Outstanding Scripted Variety Series goes to Last Week Tonight. We cut back to Liam, who in a fit of rage throws the TV remote at the TV. We cut to the Emmys, it's now a commercial break. The celebrities are up and about, and we see Todd sitting by himself. Some comedians come over, they talk about how they don't envy him, that he's gonna be all right. One of them even says, you can stay in my place in LA for the week. You know, don't go back to Liam. Todd's phone starts to ring. He looks at it, it's Liam. Todd begins to walk to a quieter section. He picks up the phone, and we hear Liam yelling through the phone. The title sequence plays. We're now in Act 1. We're gonna cut to a hotel room. We see Aiden doing a line of cocaine alone in his room. He exits the hotel and there are a bunch of paparazzi. Aiden kind of swaggers over, is trying to be joking with them and playful, but they start bombarding him with salacious questions about all the rumors of his addiction, his marriage, and Aiden quickly retreats, gets in his car, and drives off. Aiden arrives at 30 Rock where he meets Caleb. Caleb asks Aiden how he feels about being back in the building after some time away. This is his first appearance at SNL since he left. Caleb drops Aiden off with an assistant to get him ready to go on air for Caleb's late night show. We then cut to the late night show. Caleb is interviewing Aiden. They rib about SNL not winning an Emmy. Aiden even makes a comment that SNL won an Emmy while he was a head writer. Caleb finishes shooting the episode. He goes back to his office. Caleb asks Todd how the Emmys were. Todd gets confrontational with Caleb about asking Aiden a certain question. Caleb plays a little dumb, I don't know what you're talking about, and Todd says, you asked him the Emmys question. At least my show was nominated for one. Todd vents his frustration that this is another mess for him to clean up and that there's already a lot of tension going on with Aiden returning to SNL, but Liam really wanted it. Caleb accuses Todd of only doing what Liam wants. Todd brushes it off as not true, but Caleb says maybe if you did what you want, the show would be better. There's a clear conflict of two guys who are not having success, who both believe they deserve more. Caleb makes Todd leave, and as Todd is leaving, he says that Liam wants to meet with Caleb tomorrow morning. The next day, we see Amy land at an airport. As she's getting off her private jet, her assistant comes up to her, gives her her schedule for all her meetings with various entities to pitch her Broadway show and get it on Broadway, so that she could eventually win a Tony, get the thing that's eluded her from her EGOT. The assistant then tells Amy that before she has these meetings, she has a meeting with Liam in an hour. Amy's confused. She wants to know how that got on the schedule. The assistant says it was a last-minute addition. Amy sighs and gets in her car. Now we're at Liam's home. We see Caleb enter. Caleb immediately starts apologizing to Liam, who is very friendly, brushes it off as a, harmless mistake, good fun, maybe a little rib about, oh, well, you didn't get nominated for an Emmy, so it's okay. Caleb then sees Todd sitting in Liam's apartment and is a little confused. Then Aiden enters. He has a very loud and obnoxious entrance. He sees Todd and Caleb and is like, oh, if this is my intervention, I'd hope there are more people coming. We then see Amy enter the lobby of Liam's building. She's clearly nervous. She arrives in Liam's apartment. The room gets very quiet and uncomfortable when they see her. They're confused why Amy's here. Amy tries to break the tension. She's like, so we're getting the band back together. She takes a jab at Todd saying, nice job effing up the show. Aiden laughs at this joke. Amy takes a shot at Aiden now and saying, well, at least Todd's not addicted to crack. We can see that there is a lot of animosity between some of these people. So Liam then calms the situation down and he pitches to them why they're all here. The next season of SNL is going to be the 50th season of SNL, and he wants this to be the great return to glory. Liam recognizes he needs some help. He's trying to show that he's just extending them an olive branch, really cares about what they have to say, and wants them to come back as writers, producers, to help the show win an Emmy next year. Caleb, Aiden, and Amy all jump in that they don't want to give up where they are in their careers. They're quite happy, and that this may be a step down from where they are. Liam comes back, says, well, they could be heroes, and then offers them, I'm considering about firing Todd. You could be the head writer even. Todd kind of speaks up for himself, but it gets drowned out by all the others continuing to refuse this. Liam, fed up with all the animosity, yells at them, I made your career. I made you. When I call, you pick up. He kind of takes a beat and then says, I don't need you, but I want you. Amy, fed up with all this, defends herself, not willing to participate in the circus. She goes to leave and says that she wishes she had seen everyone else under better circumstances and that this was just a waste of time. Caleb says that he's got to get back to his show too, so he gets up and leaves with Amy. So Caleb and Amy walk out together. Caleb offers, if you're in town, why don't you come on the show? We can always make room for you, showing that there's still a bit of a friendship between the two of them. But Amy refuses. She says she's just in town for these meetings. She's going out tomorrow. She can't. Amy then voices her suspicions that Liam is up to something else, that it's too early to already be thinking about season 50. It just feels grimy. Caleb defends Liam, saying, you know, this is just him upset about losing the Emmy again last night and that he doesn't have anything up his sleeve. But then Amy pushes back, saying that Liam's a control freak. He's just trying to control them again. He's not happy that they've gone their own ways. And the two go their own ways. Now we're in Act 2. Later in the day, we see Aiden and Todd pitching sketch ideas in a writer's room. As certain ideas are being pitched, we're seeing some be shut down a little more adamantly by Todd. Even Aiden saying, oh, Liam didn't like those jokes when I was here. I wouldn't do that. It's very clear that certain things are off limits and that even without Liam being in the room, he has this control over the creative process. Liam then arrives and he pulls Aiden out of the room. Liam tries to convince Aiden to stay, you know, saying, oh, you're like a son to me. I've always tried to help you stay on the straight and narrow path. But you really kind of fell off the wheels once you left here. Aiden says that the work kind of drove him there, that he just overworked himself and it led to these bad habits. So Liam then points out that Aiden's become a bit of a punchline in media, but that, you know, SNL's always been above making fun of him. Well, it's gotten harder considering the increasing amount of tabloids and paparazzi people who are just saying all these awful things. Aiden and Liam step outside and they are flocked by tabloids, paparazzi, people asking all these things, and Liam really shoos them away, gets them to clear out. Liam ends the conversation, tells Aiden to go back inside, and we see Liam get in a car and drive off. We then follow Amy for a little bit as she's about to go into another pitch meeting. We can tell that the first ones have gone terribly, but she, you know, is optimistic that, well, this will be the one. But she also remarks that she's really struggling more with these pitches, that she doesn't often have such quite pushback as she's making these pitches. We can tell again she's suspicious of something. We cut back to Liam, who is attending a stand-up show. When he arrives, the manager immediately recognizes who he is, very friendly, sits him at a table, takes good care of him. Liam watches the show and he sees Catherine perform stand-up and she absolutely kills it. After the show, Liam approaches Catherine and gives her this big speech about when opportunities arise and encourages her to come by the office tomorrow and to audition to be on SNL. Catherine, not fully realizing who Liam is, takes some digs about SNL and saying, oh, well, you know, they haven't modernized, they're just a TV show, TikTok, social media, that's the future of comedy. And Liam then reveals who he is and says, it'd be a great way for you to modernize the show and stake your claim in comedy history. We then see Liam back at 30 Rock later that night. He goes to Todd's office. He apologizes for being too harsh on Todd. He says that he hasn't really made up his mind about head writer next year and that Todd certainly could maintain the position, but Todd will still need to earn it. The next day, we go to Caleb. We see Caleb preparing for his show. He's working with his writers. We can see this faux innovator personality he has, where it's not really revolutionary, but he thinks he is. Liam pulls Caleb out of the meeting. Liam promises Caleb that the late night show will still be there the following year if he leaves the show and comes to SNL. Liam even starts to kind of go after Caleb and say, I can tell your show is struggling. You know, coming back would be a great refresher, an opportunity to relearn the fundamentals, to return and improve the show. Finally, Liam says, well, I need a decision by Saturday. We see Todd and Aiden doing Catherine's audition. She's doing well, but we can see that maybe Todd and Aiden are a little too positive about it, and they offer her a position on the show. Finally, we see Amy boarding her private jet as she's getting on. A very nice vintage car pulls up in front of it, kind of blocking it from moving. Liam gets out of the car. He wants to talk with Amy. He says, oh, we can go on the plane and just chat for a few minutes. But Amy says, no, we can do this out here. This is where we're going to get more vocalized why Amy left the show, her frustrations with Liam's creative control and that it wasn't working for her, and her frustration at Liam that she's never done anything to harm the reputation of the show, that all the issues with her departure were nothing that Amy ever said or did. Amy then accuses Liam, putting pressure on her pitch meetings to fail. She knows that he's still not over her and meddling with her career when he can, and this is why she left SNL. He's a control freak and he's paranoid about other people. Liam denies all of this and says maybe people just don't care what you have to say. This pisses off Amy. She says says she'll never work again on anything with Liam's name attached to it. She goes further and says, I won't come back to those studios until you're dead. Liam then reveals to Amy that he had stage 3 pancreatic cancer. He's just gone through this experimental surgery that has given him some time back, but he could relapse at any moment. He then reveals that the real purpose of this is he is searching for the next EP, the next media mogul to replace him when he dies. And he says to Amy, this would be the crowning achievement for your career, to be my successor and fulfill this giant power vacuum when I leave, and by coming back, you could achieve that. Amy ignores this and just says that she looks forward to the call from Liam's assistant the day he dies. Amy tells Liam to get his car out of the way. She boards the plane and leaves. Act 3. We see Catherine celebrating with a friend about being added to the SNL cast, about this big break she's finally getting. She knew if she worked for it, she would get it. She clearly seems a little naive to the situation. How could she? She wouldn't know the inner workings of what's coming. A few days later, we see Caleb call Amy. He tells Amy this offer that he's been presented and that he's kind of mulling it over and not sure, and wanted her thoughts. Amy tells Caleb about Liam's diagnosis. Caleb didn't know about it. And we see Caleb's emotions drive him in this sense of pity he has, and we should give him this before he dies. It would really mean a lot to him. Amy pushes back on Caleb that the reason Caleb does this late night show is because Liam wanted him gone, and Liam orchestrated the maneuver because Liam doesn't like the appearance of conflict. We once again get highlighted here this control freak idea, the idea of what's being said on the show, who has creative control, and then we get it also on the other characters. Amy says to Caleb that Aiden worked so well with Liam because everyone thought all the messed up stuff Aiden would say was insincerity and part of his bit, but Aiden's a lot worse than people think. And then she goes after Todd for just being Liam's little puppy, going after whoever Liam tells him to. This all comprising to Amy's point that Liam doesn't want SNL to be about entertainment anymore. That he's using this show to advance his personal agenda and using the guise of comedy as his way to attack people, and that she will not be a part of that. They hang up, and Caleb, consumed by this kind of notion of pity and letting this man get what he wants near the end of his life, signs a contract to agree to appear for 1 year, the 50th season of SNL. We come to Saturday night. Aiden gets a call from his wife. His wife is reading all these stories that Aiden has agreed to come back for a longer time. She's mad at him. They didn't talk about this at all. She doesn't agree to it. It really kind of ruffles Aiden's feathers. He's trying to deny it, but she won't hear it, and she hangs up. We then see Todd preparing Catherine for her first appearance on the show. She seems a little nervous. A cast member comes up to Todd, pissed that something has been cut from the show and that he's giving this new person who's barely been here a week a shot on the show already. We see Aiden then do the opening monologue from his argument with his wife. He's kind of flustered. The performance is so-so. We then see that Caleb is watching this episode from the side of the stage with Liam. We see Amy back at her home. She decides to turn on the TV. It's the weekend update segment of SNL. We see Todd doing a satirical interview with Catherine. Catherine is doing an impression that is clearly meant to be Amy, and it is absolutely bashing her, but it's getting some laughs. Caleb realizes what this is. Liam shushes him, but Caleb continues to go, "This is an awful idea. How could you do this to her?" Liam drags Caleb out into the hallway. They're yelling at each other. Caleb asks, "Why would you do this?" We see Liam smile. We see Amy back at her home. She picks up her phone and she calls her assistant and says, "Get me to New York now." Episode ends. So now rapid fire, let's just talk about some of the conflicts that will span the rest of this season. There's going to be Amy and Catherine beef. Catherine idolized Amy, thought that her appearance on Weekend Update was really just at fun, not knowing the actual consequences or the beef going on. This is going to cause tension between the two of them that over the season we'll hopefully see resolve and see Amy recognize that Catherine could be a tool to go after Liam. Catherine throughout the show can be helping modernize the show. This is a great time to talk about where TV is going. And with Amy, we can also see her continue to pitch her show, try to pursue this EGOT, and be this great comedian. With Aiden, his marriage will fail. He's going to go through a divorce. His addiction is really going to consume him. We'll see the cast stage an intervention, and at the end of the season, we'll see him check into rehab. We can begin to see Caleb learn his issues, that he is really chasing trends, and see him discover his own voice, kind of go through that process of what does it mean to write from your perspective and be original, to have your own ideas. And not that they have to be these crazy revolutionary ideas, but just even speaking from your own perspective. We're going to contrast that with Todd, who is going to go deeper into Lauren's pocket and help really set up the sides of this beef. We'll see Liam continue to meddle with people's careers to try to get what he wants, but also we will see him genuinely testing these people to try to find a successor. He's not just trying to screw them over as some kind of revenge. We can see these tests manifest as various content issues, like a sketch just wildly backfiring or a guest being incredibly problematic. All this will culminate in this idea of messaging, what's being written, which will then tie to our big season 1 cliffhanger, which is all the writers going on strike. So there it is. That's my pitch for a Succession style show taking place at SNL.